So thank you so much for taking out the time to stop by on the platform. I really appreciate you. I look forward to hearing more about the amazing work that you've been doing.
I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Who you are, where you're from, and definitely what do you do?
I'm Chaya Czernowin, a composer and a composition teacher, and I am a professor at Harvard, but mainly a composer whose work has been performed everywhere in a lot of places. And I come from Israel. I left Israel when I was 25, and I then, traveled the world and lived in various places out of dedication to my work, where my work took me. I compose music, uh, which is considered in the vein of contemporary music, contemporary classical music, maybe. Yeah, that's what I do.
Okay, wow, that's really interesting. Now I can ask you this: when did you develop this passion for music? Do you have musicians in your family, or are you the first?
Well, my family is a family of Holocaust survivors. So my father was left alone when he was alone when he was 14. He was extremely talented and very musical. He played the accordion, but he never had the opportunity to actually learn or to develop his actually quite substantial talent for music. So I think I inherited the talent from him. But I was the first one in my family to attend an academic institution. And both he and my mother took care of me so that I would have a really good musical education since I was very little, because I was immediately, recognized as having that talent from him. So, yeah, nobody in my family was a professional musician, but it's clear where the talent came from, or the attraction. And I started writing
Wow.
music. Yeah, started writing music in the age of 13. I was playing piano. I mean, already as a 3 years old, I was singing with my father, and he would teach me all the second voices of his Russian songs. But yeah.
Okay, okay. Now, do you have a preference in terms of writing or playing, the piano or performing or even teaching?
Well, I'm a composer, which means that I sit near my table where I am now, and I compose. I invent music. That music can be for a symphony orchestra or for an opera where I have singers, or even using electronics, doing all kinds of recordings and using them as a part of my music. I played piano for many, many years, and I also was a singer. When I was very young, I played and wrote progressive rock, and I was playing the piano and singing. But my performing days were over very soon, because I realized I'm really not a performer. I'm the person who invents the music. So I'm the one who thinks out those musics that would like to be some new adventure, music that is not familiar. And so I have perfect pitch, so I don't need to go to the piano to check myself very often. And so I can sit near my table with a pencil and with an eraser and write my notes. That's the first stage.
Okay, okay. Now I can ask you, what courses do you teach, and are you in a traditional, like a musical classroom setting or something else?
It is very different. The main thing I teach is individual lessons to young composers. So we have a very, very well-known graduate program. We get a lot of applications and we choose every year, unfortunately, very few. We are allowed only very few, one or two graduate students, and I teach all the graduate students about once a week, give them, each of them an individual lesson, which means that they bring me what they are working on right now. I read it I read the score from what they've written, and I talk to them about it and see how I can help. I see if something doesn't make sense, if there is some, pragmatic problem that the instrument cannot play what they've done. But mainly we talk about ideas, we talk about how to concretize ideas that they have, concepts that they have, and I have help to teach them kind of awareness about what they are doing.
Okay, okay. Now I can ask you this. How has AI and technology and streaming and social media, these different technological changes that are happening, how have they affected you as a composer and as a teacher? Has it been an easy transition for you, or has it been difficult, or a little bit of both?
Streaming was a huge service when Corona was here, because we couldn't have concerts. So it was really wonderful to be able to actually listen to concert and look at them through streaming. So that was a huge, just really a huge help for the whole area, because there were very stiff rules about, people getting together. So that kept us alive to some extent. In regard to AI, it's much more complicated. Of course, you can use AI as a small helper when you try to formalize something, but I do not use AI at all in regards to my music. I don't think maybe I would use it in the future for mechanical purposes, but not more than that. And I really object to using it as a tool for creativity. So I do not find the ideas very easy. The whole ideas, the whole feeling that the, the the progress on AI is so fast and not completely reflected.
Okay, okay. Yeah, because I can attest to that. I know I've heard, songs. I listen to hip hop and they'll have an artist that may not be alive anymore, like a Tupac, and somebody will type the lyrics in and it'll have the Tupac sound, but it just doesn't have that feel, It's like, oh, Tupac wouldn't say that. So I definitely
Exactly.
understand.
It has something of a, yeah, it's kind of fake to my feeling, because it really misses the origin, the human spirit to some extent. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Now you've traveled to so many places. People dream of traveling, but you've also been able to do what you love to do at the same time. If you could speak about some of the places that you've been to and some of your experiences.
Well, when I was 25, I was privileged to get a scholarship to go and live in Berlin. This was in the 80s, and Berlin was still segregated. So there was East Germany and West Germany. And for a person who is 25, just coming out fresh from a very closed place, which was Israel, it was a huge field of discovery being in Berlin in the 80s. Berlin was back then like a node of nerves. where if you touched one node, all of the other nodes came alive. So if you met one person, you met actually the whole community of people who were connected. And it was a very magical place, because it was, closed place inside of East Germany. And so these were amazing time. It was also a very special time. Back then, I still came from Israel, that was a very different country that it is now. In spite of the fact that actually we were already an occupying force, but I still was a little bit naive about everything. And it took me many years to figure out what was really going on in my country, because we were not taught, as you know, in the high school or in the elementary school, what actually took place since Israel was actually founded. And so at that time, I was still very proud of Israel. And there are still things I'm proud of now, but they are very few and disappearing by the day. Have disappeared actually long time ago. Anyway, but at that time, in Germany, there was a huge openness for Israelis and for the whole idea of Israel. It was very, I think, healing for Germans to experience the rise of Israel. Nobody knew that Israel will become a villain yet. So that was a very golden time to be in Berlin. I then went to the US and lived for some time in Bloomington. I lived in many places, but maybe it would be interesting to say that I always felt a connection to Japan. And then I got a very big scholarship to go to Japan in the 90s. And that was also a kind of a very interesting process of connecting to a place about which I knew only from far away, coming closer, and while really loving that place and engaging with the culture, with the No theater, with the kabuki, and especially with the gagaku music of Japan. Also learning a lot about the problem in the Japanese cultures and the elements of it, which are really the conformism, the fact that, for example, friends where artists could not go out of the country if they had to take care of their parents. They would dedicate all their life to take care of their family, which was a kind of a mixed thing, on the one hand, extremely noble and beautiful. On the other hand, kind of they had to give up their life and hopes in order to take care of the older generation. So, these experiences really shaped me as a person. Then moving to, of course, the country in which I lived the most time, the US, where I've been now since 2009. That was the last wave, but I've been here before as a student, as a faculty member at UCSD. And then the last place that I would mention is living in Vienna for 3 years, which was also extremely interesting and very different than my experience in Berlin. So there is a wealth of experiences, and the most important thing maybe was that one really learns that your perspective changes with every transition. You change, and the way that you view the world change, not because you become influenced by the place you are at, but because the transition and the settling in a different culture demands a retuning of your sensitivity. And once you do it a few times, and as you do it a few times, you really figure out to be a little bit more modest about what you thought is absolute. You learn that it's not exactly so, maybe.
Wow, okay, that's very interesting. Now I have to ask you, have you considered, maybe doing a documentary or even writing a book about your experiences and your travels and music?
Um, I think that in some way, my musical work is much more satisfying than writing with words. And about a documentary, if somebody will come to me and propose, there is a very short documentary that has been done when I did one of my operas, Infinite Now. It's I don't remember how long it is, maybe 20 minutes, half an hour. There is actually two of them were done at that time, and they are connected to the opera, and one is more general about my life, but not really about the traveling, more about the music. However, if somebody will come and propose, I'm sure that I will say yes, no problem. But I will not, I'm not going to initiate anything like that because anyway, my time is so limited and I am constantly having to try and breathe. I don't have time to initiate stuff like that. So, yeah.
Okay, I definitely understand, but it would definitely be interesting. Now, are you working on any current projects or do you have any up and coming projects in the future?
Of course. Yeah, there are a lot of interesting things coming up. Um, I've just finished a huge piece, 1 hour, close to 1 hour long, for contrabass flute, which will be played by Claire Chase, who is a very well-known flutist, American, who is performing universally. And for her and a strange orchestra of, I don't know, 20 something people, the orchestra is six flute, six oboes, six trumpets, three cellos, piano, trombone, tuba, and yeah, I say, and percussion. And this is a very strange orchestra. The lineup is taken from Galina Osvolskaya, who was a Russian fantastic composer, to my opinion, extremely underrated. I really love her work, and I decided to write a piece that would refer to the same orchestration so that people will play her piece at the same concert that my piece is played. And so this is going to be done in Europe, in Darmstadt Festival and in Lucerne Festival this summer, and in New York in Timespan Festival also this summer. That's something I just finished. I'm now writing a saxophone quartet, which is also a large scale piece. And there are very large projects, an opera 2029, and music for the film Le Passion de Jeanne d'Arc, which is coming in 2027, among many other things. So, yeah, a lot is happening right now.
Oh, okay, that's really amazing. Now, can I ask you this? When you say you create a piece, like, as I guess supporters or as fans, we may take for granted that we go see a performance and it's an hour long, but how much time do you have to put into that?
That's a long, long time for a piece which is like an hour long. It depends how, it depends in the lineup. It depends if it's a string quartet or if it's an orchestra, or it can take anywhere from half a year to a year or more, you know. Depends also if I can focus and write every day or if I have a lot of traveling to do. I travel a lot because my performances demand it. And, you know, if I'm in residence in some place, I have to be there for my performances, and that creates a disruption in my work. But if I'm able to have, like, you know, an uninterrupted 3 weeks, let's say, I can do a lot of music. But those huge pieces, they take, you know, close to a year almost.
Wow, wow. I take my hat off to you. That's amazing. So we're about 22 minutes in. I want to thank you so much for stopping by and sharing, that amazing work that you've been doing. Now, I can ask you this for the viewers who want to keep up with what you got going on and what you have coming in the future, and they want to check out some of your music and performances. Do you have a website, or what's the best place for them to do that?
So there are two places. I have a website, Chaya Czernowin, my name, chayaczernowin.com. And there is a lot of information, partly also kind of funny, all kinds of funny comments I've gotten during the years, not only compliments, for example. So that website is very active and it's quite updated, not completely, but quite. And then there is a YouTube channel of my work where one can find a lot of interviews, a lot of recording, a lot of performances, and that is Chaya Czernowin 777. But if you type my name on YouTube, it will come up. So that I'm inviting everybody to visit the YouTube channel and my website.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you.